talk about cholestasis of pregnancy. Cholestasis of pregnancy is found in 1 in 1500 pregnant women. After viral hepatitis, second most common cause of jaundice in pregnancy. Etiology is multifactorial. It may be hormonal, genetic, or environmental. Hormonal is because of increased serum estrogen levels in second half of pregnancy. The bile salts, they tend to increase. Genetic cause has been reported as ABCB4 gene encoding the multi-drug resistance 3 protein. The environmental factors, presence of chronic liver disease, low levels of selenium, and low vitamin D levels act as predisposing factors. Cholestasis of pregnancy usually is seen in third trimester of pregnancy, but in 10% of the patients, it may occur in first trimester, and 25% of the patients may have cholestasis in second trimester. Moderate to severe pruritus is the most worrying feature in almost all of the patients. Pruritus is localized to palms and soles, or it may be generalized. No obvious skin lesions are seen except for the excoriation marks. Right upper quadrant pain, nausea, poor appetite, sleep deprivation, and steatorrhea may occur in most of the patients. Resolution is usually there in 2 to 4 weeks following delivery. Recurrence is in 45 to 70% of the patients. Cholestasis constitutional symptoms may or may not be present. In 1 out of 5 patients, they may progress to clinical jaundice and show dark urine or light colored stools. Pruritus usually precedes in these patients by 1 to 4 weeks. Maternal prognosis is favorable except for the development of polylithiasis in some cases. Fetal prognosis is bad in the sense it is not very bad, but risk of prematurity, intrapartum fetal distress, and sometimes IUD can happen. Lab studies, they show increased levels of GGT. Direct bilirubin is increased, but not more than 6 milligram per deciliter. Bile acids are increased, that is the single most sensitive test. Total serum bile acids, they are more than 11 micromoles per liter. Cholic acid and chenodeoxycholic acid, these are the two main bile acids, and their ratio is more than 1.5, or cholic acid proportion of total bile acid is more than 42%. Glycine conjugates to taurine conjugates of bile acids are less than 1%. Degree of pruritus correlates with the bile acid concentration. Lab studies continuing. LFT shows mild elevation in transaminases, alkaline phosphatase, 5-nucleotidase, cholesterol, triglycerides, phospholipids. ALT is the most sensitive indicator. Direct bilirubin is elevated. Albumin may be reduced. Alpha-2 globulins and beta globulins are raised. Fetal effects and maternal bile acids cross the placenta and can accumulate in the fetus and amniotic fluid. Transplacental gradients facilitate fetal clearance of bile acids in normal pregnancies, but they are reversed in cholestatic pregnancies. It results in increased risk for intrauterine demise, meconium-stained amniotic fluid, preterm delivery, and neonatal respiratory distress syndrome. The risk of fetal demise is increased with higher serum total bile acid levels. If the concentration is less than 40 micromoles per liter, the incidence of fetal demise is 0.13%. Whereas if the levels are between 40 to 99 micromoles per liter, the incidence increases to 0.2%. And if the levels are more than equal to 100 micromoles per liter, the incidence jumps to 3.44%. Treatment, the first line treatment is topical emollients. Oral antihistamines in the form of loratadine or cetirizine can be given. Oral UDCA, ursodeoxycholic acid in the dosage of 15 milligrams per kg per day can be given, and to the maximum dose of 21 milligram per kg per day. Second line treatments usually are not required. If they are required, then we need a specialist's opinion, like a senior dermatologist's opinion is required. Other recommendations, weekly tests for monitoring of fetal well-being should be done to detect early signs of fetal distress. Maternal vitamin K replacement should be given if jaundice is present. Early delivery between 36 to 37 weeks is recommended if lab tests are showing deterioration or the patient's itching is deteriorating. Dexamethasone may be needed for fetal lung maturity. Another pregnancy-specific dermatosis is pruritic urticarial papules and plaques of pregnancy, commonly known as PEP. Incidence is 130 to 1 in 300 pregnancies, usually seen in primi gravida. Onset is in third trimester, usually around 35 weeks. Duration of symptoms lasts for 6 weeks. and there is spontaneous resolution of these symptoms. Recurrence is rare. It is most commonly associated with twins or triplets pregnancies. These are the common lesions seen in this kind of in polymorphic eruption, eruption of pregnancy showing typical papules. At arms, at the abdomen. Exact etiopathogenesis of PEP is not known, but degree of stretching of abdominal skin may play a role. Because of the increased stretching which occurs in twins or triplets, there is release of dermal antigens which causes triggering of inflammatory response, which in turn results in skin lesions of PEP. It may be a result of immunological response to circulating fetal antigens, especially male fetal DNA. These are the typical lesions seen over the abdomen and over the thighs. The lesions are 1 to 2 millimeter erythematous arterial papules surrounded by a pale halo. Starts on abdomen, classically within stria gravidarum. Periumbilical sparing is there. Rapid spread to thighs, buttocks, breast, arms is seen. Face, palms, and soles are usually spared. Pruritus parallels with the eruption. Topical treatment is by topical emollients. Topical corticosteroids may also be required. Oral antihistaminics are given to reduce itching. Prednisolone, in some cases of severe itching, may be prescribed. We have to differentiate it from drug eruption, in which case there is no fixed pattern of the eruption, and there is history of drug intake also. In insect bites, you can see the punctum where the insect has bitten. In scabies, there is classical distribution of the lesions. Sorry, and mites can be seen. In pemphigoid gestationis, we can see the typical lesions of the disease. Pemphigoid gestationis. It is a rare autoimmune bullous disease, usually seen in second or third trimester of pregnancy. It is caused by circulating immunoglobulin IgG1 autoantibodies directed against VP180 and 17 collagen. A transmembrane hemidesmosomal glycoprotein expressed in the basement membrane zone of skin. Incidence is 1 in 50,000 pregnancies. Diagnosis usually is clinical based on history and physical examination. Skin biopsy and serum collagen 17 antibody levels are diagnostic. These autoantibodies also bind to amniotic basement membrane. Onset is usually in second or third trimester of pregnancy. Sometimes it is seen in immediate postpartum period also. There is abrupt onset of intensely pruritic urticarial lesions. 50% of the lesions occur on the abdomen, involving the umbilicus also. Remaining lesions, they show atypical distribution on extremities also. Progression is generalized, tense pemphigoid-like blisters, like this. These blisters are seen over the chest and on the feet. All over the body, almost we can see these lesions. These are dissolving form of the lesions. These lesions usually spare face, mucous membranes, palms, and soles. In 75% of the cases, flare occurs after delivery. Almost 25% of the patients present postpartum. Course is extremely variable. Recurrence is common. And newborns, sometimes newborns may also show the same lesions, but typically they are mild and self-limiting. Diagnosis is based upon combination of clinical findings, histopathology, direct immunofluorescence, and indirect immunofluorescence. Complications may be maternal complications, usually are not very severe. No, there is no increase in the morbidity or mortality. In the fetus, they may show small for gestational age births and premature delivery. Neonatal pemphigoid gestationis may be present, but that happens in a milder form. Treatment is topical emollients, potent topical steroids, oral antihistamines. Relief of one should refer these cases to the dermatologist. Prednisolone, azathioprine, plasma exchange, and intravenous immunoglobulins may be required. Atopic eruption of pregnancy is the most common dermatosis of pregnancy. It is triggered by immunological changes of pregnancy. Th2 is more than Th1 in normal pregnancy. So reduced cellular immunity in contrast to dominant humoral immunity. Clinical presentation is 20% of the patients from exacerbations of pre-existing atopic eczema, but 80% of the patients, they suffer for the first time during pregnancy with these atopic dermatitis. This is of two types, E type and P type. In E type, typical sites involved are face, neck, and flexural areas. Severe skin dryness may be present. In P-type, small erythematous papules present over trunk and limbs, mostly located on the shins and arms. Fetal prognosis, normally the fetus is not affected by these lesions, but the infants may develop atopic skin changes later on. These are the typical lesions seen over the legs and arms also, over the breast, over the chest. Treatment is by topical emollients, topical corticosteroids, oral antihistamines may be required. Second line treatment is narrowband ultraviolet beam phototherapy, and prednisolone and azathioprine may be required. Disease is modified by pregnancy. Impetigo herpetiformis or pustular psoriasis of pregnancy. It usually occurs in third trimester of pregnancy. Sometimes it may occur in first trimester. Symptoms are progressive, usually resolves after delivery. In subsequent delivery, it may occur, but if it occurs in the subsequent delivery, it occurs in a more severe form and occurs early in gestation. Usually, placental insufficiency can occur as a fetal complication, which can lead to stillbirth. Pustular psoriasis of pregnancy, lesions are erythematous patches whose margins are studded with subcorneal pustules. It originates in flexular areas, spreads centrifugally. Face, palms, and soles are spared. Symptoms are pruritus, pain, and constitutional symptoms. Differences from generalized pustular psoriasis: family history is absent, abrupt resolution at delivery, tendency to recur, precipitating factors are absent. Pustular psoriasis of pregnancy, CBC investigations are CBC, leukocytosis is seen, neutrophilia is also seen. There is raised ESR, anemia may be present. Pus culture of the lesions is usually sterile. We should evaluate these patients for hypocalcemia and other electrolyte abnormalities, and hypoalbuminemia and liver and renal functions. Hypocalcemia is very common in these patients and they may present with tetany. So we have to take care of the calcium levels of the patient. Treatment is first line is emollients, topical corticosteroids, low to mid potency may be required. Ultraviolet beam may be required. Third line is cyclosporin, systemic corticosteroids may be required. Tumor necrosis factor inhibitors may be required. Thank you.
Great.
That was wonderful, Dr. Renu.
Before time. Credit should be given before time.
I am said jaldi karna maine jaldi.
अगर नहीं कहा तो it was just before time.
अब आप पानी पी लो.
But done very well.
Very well.
Done very well.
Any questions from Dr. Renu?
Renu, Dr. Kalpana, both.
And single report of bile acid, should we take the decision? Like patient is IgR.
Symptomatic. Sometimes the lab investigations may not show the rise in bile acid levels, but if patient is symptomatic, we should repeat the test after 1 week.
But as far as we know that test is quite costly. We cannot go for the repeat test every time, but we can go about the symptoms also.
Actually, treatment with ursodeoxycholic acid is not recommended until we see the lab reports as high levels of bile acids, because if we start them early, if the treatment is started early, then we may not get the higher levels ever. So we need to have the sound levels of bile acids to start the ursodeoxycholic acid. Till then, we should treat them symptomatically.
Okay.
बट जो रेनू ने कहा वो सारी बात सच नहीं है.
अच्छा.
सब लोग फटाफट शुरू कर देते हैं.
Doctor, there are 100 or 200 gynecologists sitting and we are managing it. How are you managing, Surjit? आप बोलो ना.
नहीं, हम तो बाइल एसिड्स करते हैं. बाइल एसिड्स के बाद दर्द तो जाते हैं. इसके बाद अगर बाइल एसिड्स बढ़े हैं, LFT भी डी अरेंज है, like 3 times अगर बढ़े हुए हैं बाइल एंजाइम्स, and then we are really scared. And साथ में symptomatic भी है, IUGR भी है, we are finding other symptoms, then we take decision 34, 35 weeks.
34,
we do it like that.
But usually जरूरत नहीं पड़ती है unless and until there is previous history of IUD or the patient is having intense pruritus which is not responding to any treatment.
जो हमारा अपना एक्सपीरियंस है, जैसे हम लोग इतने टाइम से पेशेंट देखते आ रहे हैं, तो I just go for serum bilirubin also. Serum bilirubin also. Serum bilirubin का भी
नहीं रेज होता है, higher levels नहीं जाते. The only highest level they don't go beyond 6 milligram.
They beyond go?
They do not cross 6 milligram.
It is the enzymes which are raised in
Enzymes भी 2.5 times से ज़्यादा नहीं होते raised. If it is only intrahepatic cholestasis.
Our practices, patient is symptomatic, patient's enzymes are slightly raised, you know, you make the diagnosis, you find a bilirubin is marginally raised. हम लोग तो UD लोग शुरू करते हैं डॉक्टर साहब, और ऐसी crisis, मुझे तो in our practice we don't see crisis. We find crisis only in the books. In your clinical practice you don't see crisis of that kind.
हम UDLIV तो जल्दी शुरू कर देते हैं. We have a low threshold to start UDLIV.
आती नहीं है. हमारी प्रैक्टिस में एटलीस्ट 10% पेशेंट को तो हम देखते हैं. 10%, 1 in 1500 की बात नहीं डॉक्टर साहब. It's just you are telling too rare. And once you start these people on UDLIV, give them a topical as far the soothing is concerned. आप 10 दिन में उसने UDLIV ले लिया होगा, उसके symptoms बहुत अच्छे हो जाते हैं. जब पेशेंट्स को उसके बाद भी रैश हो रही है तो भी आप डर्मेटोलॉजिस्ट से बात कर लो, वो क्या कहते हैं.
मैम, one thing I have noticed, जो हम micronized progesterone जिन पेशेंट्स को देते हैं उनमें थोड़ा सा ज्यादा होती है.
Yes, agreed.
My experience, I don't know what about others.
नहीं, it is you are true. डॉक्टर साहब, हमने IVF में भी पेशेंट को देखा है कि अगर आप प्रोजेस्टेरॉन बहुत ज्यादा यूज करते हैं, उनको भी डर्मेटाइटिस हो जाती है.
जल्दी हो जाती है. और जैसे पेशेंट्स जो ओरल कॉन्ट्रासेप्टिव्स से होते हैं पहले और फिर कंसीव कर जाते हैं, they also show earlier trend of intrahepatic cholestasis.
Any role of use of steroids to treat itching in IHC?
No.
Only
डॉक्टर कल्पना बताएंगी इसके बारे में.
Gynecologist should not use it. Once you find the situation is that bad,
I don't use it.
I think the specialist should.
Steroids for itching.
Dr. Kalpana?
Ma'am, as far as oral steroids are concerned in pregnancy, we have to look for like benefit and side effect ratio. Like there are certain conditions that ma'am was mentioning जहाँ पे हमें steroid डालना पड़ता है. जैसे one of the conditions is impetigo herpetiformis, pustular psoriasis of pregnancy, या pemphigoid gestationis. These are two conditions जहाँ पे कि आपको oral steroid डालना ही डालना है. Other conditions just to control it, I don't think we need to.
डॉक्टर साहब, वो तो गायनेकोलॉजिस्ट के क्लिनिक में इतना ferocious वैसे लगते हैं कि वैसे भेज देते. We have to send them to a specialist immediately.
Like these are two conditions in pregnancy, like where you will have to add oral steroids. Rest of the conditions is just patient is just having itching. You just have to counsel the patient कि pregnancy खत्म होगी, itching चली जाएगी. For normal itchy conditions, we never add oral steroid. These are just two indications where I prefer adding steroid अगर patient आ रहा है. Rest of the conditions, I don't think we should add.
I also feel that. I think when the things are, आपको लगता है कि no, it is leaking too much, please take a specialist consultations and you should jointly manage.
Yes.
I was telling Dr. Deepti now that as far as the vulvovaginitis are concerned, the gynecologists treat them less, the dermatologists and the physicians treat them more. Is it correct?
No.
नहीं मैम, गायनेकोलॉजिस्ट बहुत ठीक करते हैं.
No.
नहीं, मैंने ये नहीं कहा. मैं एक बात बताना चाहिए. एक बात है, I will take one vaccination, जो HPV vaccination है, pediatricians 2/3 देते हैं, gynecologists 1/3 देते हैं. उसी तरह vulvovaginitis की मैंने बात करी है. Please let me just answer you that the female physicians treat them more, the dermatologists treat them more. What is your comment, Dr. Kalpana?
I think there are certain disorders where it is pertaining to skin. The patient does come to us. What I feel is the aim was my presentation was just to tell all of you what are the common disorders that you might notice. And if the patient is not able to approach a dermatologist, you can write something in interim. But like if the patient is having tinea cruris, vulval contact dermatitis, or any other vulval condition, it should be managed by a dermatologist only.
Tinea cruris तो यार gynecologist भी करते हैं.
Tinea तो बहुत कॉमन है.
मतलब सबसे अच्छा तरीका यही होता है कि आपने 1 week 2 week course दिया and patient is improved. It's okay. If patient is not improving, then you refer it to the dermatologist. That is the way. If you're not able to treat it for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, even the patient is being troubled or the disease part has been increased and you yourself is confused, If I myself is confused, then I had to refer it to dermatologist only then. And meanwhile, just for the safer side, I always write on my, one side of my paper, take dermatologist opinion, even if I don't tell them in the words, but I write them on the side. Anytime we can take a dermatologist opinion if it doesn't get all right. But if it is all right, it's okay.
As the vulvovaginitis is concerned, 50% of the problem what we see related to it, they do not put a speculum. The physicians don't put a speculum. So they know only half of the things. Kalpana, am I correct or not?
That is true,
So I
ma'am.
think what is the
Sometimes-
domain?
Many times it happens, like if a patient of vulvovaginal candidiasis, she has come to me primarily, if I'm treating the patient and if I'm seeing that the patient is not responding, in that case, I always tell the patient that she should visit the gynecologist कि आप एक बार internal examination करा लो क्योंकि वो मैं नहीं करूँगी. So that is something like, it's something, at some places, it's a multi-disciplinary approach where we have to keep the gynecologist in loop. That is true. If there's anything which is external, it is something that has to be managed by the dermatologist. But if it is something which is in the genitals and it's internal, you have to keep the gynecologist in loop. Many times it happens कि what हमें externally दिख रहे हैं, internally दिख ही नहीं रहे. उस case में भी we have to send the patients to the gynecologist ताकि वो देख के बता सके कि अंदर भी तो spread नहीं है. And it happens many a times.
करना सेम है. इसमें यही बात होती है.
My one opinion about warts in pregnancy. Gynecologists should not be over energetic to treat, let the condition pass off, and you find as soon as the pregnancy is over, there's a marked decrease into it. You give them a shot soon after delivery of, as far as the Gardasil vaccination is concerned, give them second shot, and you find by the second shot is concerned, her 95% problem is over. 95% of problem is over. So please do not be energetic to treat warts, HPV warts during pregnancy.
Dr. Kalpana?
Do not be over energetic, and I think probably.
Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Kalpana, अगर postmenopausal patient है, अगर chronic irritation है, and there are very less clinical signs. Or sometimes there's a lichen sclerosis kind of thing is there, like whiteness and all scratchy and all patches are there. How long should we wait? What are the chances of going into VIN or anything? Is there any chances, or we are very safe about that?
Most of the times, like VIN to nahi, lekin there's a term which is known as senile pruritus. Most of the postmenopausal females, they can have itching in their private areas, and they'll always आप उनसे बिल्कुल specifically पूछिए कि itching के साथ do they feel dryness? They'll always say कि हाँ dryness feel होती है. Yeah, sometimes it's difficult to make contact with the partner. So in that case, we can always write a estrogen cream. So that gives wonderful response. In most of the patients who are perimenopausal or postmenopausal, if the patient is complaining of itching in genital area and we are not able to pinpoint a particular cause, then I have seen that Avalon works, estrogen cream works really well. The only contraindication is that the patient should not be having a history of myocardial infarction or stroke.
No, my question was not that. The patient is 60, 70 years old and she's having constantly itching. And we do not have too much of clinical signs except there's a whiteness or you find there's a sclerosis or there's a lichen, whatever we think.
Chances of VIN are less.
It's very less.
It's less, ma'am. Unless there are other features, just because patient is scratching the area doesn't mean that she is having something which is precancerous. It could just be senile pruritus. You need to treat the patient first. If you think the patient is not responding, you can definitely go ahead with your investigations and everything.
How long we can wait? How long? A patient's having 3 months continuously problem, you are given steroids, anything, and patient's fine. And again, she's coming back. What do you say?
The patient is see, ma'am, I have the whole idea of presentation was that don't use steroid unless it's indicated. Right, like I've told you that we don't have to use steroid unless patient is having LSEA or LSC. If the patient is not having, patient has a profile, like patient is a postmenopausal female and you feel that the area is little dry, just go with estrogen-based creams because we have to give hormonal support. If the patient is responding well and good. If the patient is not responding and you feel that there could be chances of VIN, you can always go ahead.
नहीं, अब तुम बताओ जितनी तुमने कॉमन वल्वल डिसऑर्डर्स बताए हैं, व्हाट इज दैट? कॉन्टैक्ट डर्मेटाइटिस, लाइकन प्लैनस, लाइकन स्क्लेरोसिस, you had allergies and this all everything is like except the candidiasis, ischemia, except the 2-3 conditions, everything is steroids. There are, if there are 8 conditions, if there are 8 vulval conditions.
Dr. Sujit, I will just tell you. As a policy matter, to be very frank, as a policy matter, I have never prescribed corticosteroid ointment. ये principle बना रखा मैंने, मुझको नहीं देना. So I find, many times patient comes to you only with itching, she is burning all the time. You find there is nothing internally, nothing outside. Absolutely clean skin. People like me, you may call it, I call it a neurodermatitis, oversensitive skin.
Yes.
You give them antihistaminics, ask them to apply some oil, and in the evening, at night, I tell them tea tree ointment. And I find it, they do very well. आपको psychologically उनसे बात करनी पड़ेगी. There is no lesion. There's no lesion externally, there's no lesion internally, but her only complaint is she's coming back to you time and again. I call it a neurodermatitis. Will be able to make a comment. I, as a policy matter, I never use steroids in my own practice. Now, जरूरत steroid की जाओ ही मैडम के पास जाओ.
Yeah, I would like to say one thing, ma'am. Like we were discussing steroids. India में steroids इतने commonly available है ना कि अगर patient को itching है, आप उसे history लोगे ना, वो खुद ही history दे देगा कि patient has used steroid. अगर patient ने steroid use किया है, like जो मेरी last slide थी, मैंने इतना focus उस पे इसीलिए किया था कि there will be steroid rebound dermatitis which is very commonly seen in India. बहुत ही कॉमन है कि पेशेंट आप उसे पेशेंट से हिस्ट्री लीजिए, पेशेंट जरूर बोलेगा कि मैंने कॉस्वेट जीएम या समथिंग लाइक दैट. Patient must have used. So one of the things, and steroids, like the main idea was like, yes, like I said, कि most of the conditions skin में हैं, mostly they are autoimmune, we have to write steroids, but we have to be very judicious and cautious. We should be knowing where we are writing it and for how long are we going to write it. So that's true. As far as VIR is concerned, that's totally your prerogative. If you feel that the patient is not responding and you think, because there is no specific timeline. If the patient is having a feature, yes, you can go ahead with biopsy and everything.
Okay. And what is your stand on diabetic patient? For how long you want to treat them? Diabetic patient.
Diabetic patients for itching.
This itching, pruritus, yes, whatever the lesions there. It is all because
again,
of the,
like
normally they are fungal.
Like, see, what happens is what I've seen, like ma'am, Dr. Sharda has also mentioned that most of the time it's neurogenic. That's totally true. Most of the times, if you start asking the patients कि आपको कोई stress रहता है, they'll tell you number of stressors. It happens in the clinic. Mostly itching रात के time में increase करती है. You have to do little bit of hand holding. You have to do counseling.
50%, madam, 50%.
Yeah, बिल्कुल true. सही ma'am. So 50% cases में diabetic patients में ma'am, we always have to.
But diabetic patient, one thing is, diabetic patient, you have to say, I will give you a treatment, you'll have a 50% relief. But unless you control your diabetes, it is not going to be all right.
That's true.
You have to control diabetes.
Diabetes में ma'am, we always have to tell them कि recurrence can always occur and you have to control your sugar levels. Because most of the times patients of GM, they always have vulvovaginal candidiasis. They have chronic history. They'll keep on telling कि doctor आपकी medicine use करते हैं, I respond. And then once I stop it, I still get infection, like very frequently. So you always ask them about their blood sugar levels and HbA1c. It's always raised. Then you have to tell them about their body weight and everything, the personal hygiene part also. Most of the patients, they are little obese also. So we have to tell them that you have to reduce your body fat percentage. So like if they are maintaining a good lifestyle, they are using the drugs properly, most of the patients ठीक हो जाते हैं, but there are some patients जो आते हैं लौट के, then you have to refer them to someone else.
Can we give them fluconazole for a longer period, 3 months, 4 months?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, we can give. Like I have written fluconazole twice in a week or thrice in a week for 6 months also, and patients, they do respond.
And what about it? Is it true that they have more burning and more this thing in the night only? There is some diurnal variation, or it's just a patient psychology?
Variation, yes, diurnal variation is there because in morning hours, most of the patients, they are busy with their daily chores, so they don't have this like ध्यान ही नहीं रहता उनका. लेकिन night time में they'll always tell you that the itching increases, and fungal infection itching, it also increases when the patient is menstruating. So these are common times. Yes, nighttime itching is more, and like if there's a patient, if you think that you're treating the patient perfectly well, still the patient is not responding, that means that she has a neurogenic component.
Okay. And the flat ulcer, you did not talk about anything like a flat ulcers. I've seen number of patients with a flat ulcer. The skin is absent. It's a flat. Nothing is very demarcated margin. What is that condition?
Ma'am, like I have not discussed many, like I just discussed the common one, but
It's
you
also
can get
very
a
common.
painless ulcer in syphilis. Okay? So like there are other causes of ulcers also, like that we commonly seen in our OPD, like we have seen in our OPD. One is syphilis. Syphilis mein there is a chancre. It's a painless ulcer. The margin will be very much well indurated. That is one thing which we commonly see. Then you can see chancroid. Chancroid again, there will be an ulcer. जिसकी जो margins होंगे, they will be little ragged. It will again be little indurated, but it's very painful. So if it's a very painful, well-defined deep ulcer, you have to think about chancroid. If it's a well-defined indurated ulcer, it's painless. You have to think about syphilis. Then you patients can have aphthous ulcer also. Like few days back, I had a deaf and mute patient, and she had lots of swelling in the vulval area, lots of purulent discharge, and she didn't give any history of contact. So I thought maybe she is deaf and mute and something must have happened with her. I got all the tests done, nothing came out, but I gave her antibiotics which was specific to gonorrhea only, and the patient responded beautifully. She went back. She had also complained of joint pains. So I was just thinking on the line that she is having some STI and she's not accepting that she had some contact. The patient came back to me after 15 days. She had a similar picture. Then I thought probably it's not gonorrhea, it's something else. So I examined the area again, and there was this well-defined ulcer, which was through and through ulcer. It had just it was in the minora. Her minora was totally destroyed. So it was basically aphthous ulceration. So aphthous ulceration is very common. And that patient, she had little bit of redness in her eyes. She was also having joint pains. So again, I had to write an oral steroid, and the patient responded beautifully.
That is
So like this was one of the conditions, like Crohn's disease again. Like Crohn's disease may be aapko ulceration milengi. So these are little rare, but still these are presentations that you have to keep in mind. You'll get to see such patients.
any stand on wash, we wash and
Ma'am, I'm not in favor of using any vaginal wash. I feel nature is such that we just have to wash it with plain water. Using washes, I think it affects the vaginal pH and it leads to more infection.
It harms
So I
more.
never
It harms the patient more.
So I never write
It harms
Just
the
wash it
patient
with
more.
plain water. It is one tip that I always give to all my patients. If somebody comes to my clinic, especially from a gynecologist, because I know like you people treat VVC beautifully. Like ma'am said, it's not actually our field. VVC is not our domain. But if still the patient is coming from a gynecologist referral, then we always I prefer checking what she's doing. Because most of the time I've seen that people are in the habit of using vaginal washes because they feel that they are maintaining very good hygiene. They keep on washing the area every time they're using the washroom. So you have to ask your patients not to do it. Washing it twice in a day is more than enough. That too with plain
I
water.
write on capital letter, no washes.
No washes.
No washes. I think it had been wonderful. Dr. Renu and Dr. Kalpana, it had been an absolutely wonderful session.
I think these days, I think the tight jeans also is a cause of vulvitis and all itching, pruritus. Skin tight jeans also going because there's a lot of dampness over there. They cannot make it completely dry.
No, ma'am,
That is-
I find all youngsters who
very
wear jeans, I tell them you should wear jeans only for 6 hours. In the evening, you must use
You
skirts.
must in overtime.
Also, ma'am, sanitary napkins.
And your
because most of the people
underclothing
they-
also should be loose in the night.
Yes.
Cotton underclothing.
And sanitary napkins also, people, they're mostly using Ultra One and they don't change their, youngsters, they don't change their pads often. So it leads to lots of fungal infections. So this is again another tip that we always have to tell the patient if they're having recurrent PVC. They should always keep the area dry and they should use cotton pads and they should change it frequently. It
So
also saves-
I will share my experience of my daughter. When she went to the hostel, her only problem was this: Mama, I use a pad and I have this kind of things. For I think so many years she remained in the medical college. Attache full of napkins were made at home and they were sent, and then she was symptom free. The skin which is there, the way they use it, I think they can be bad for patients.
Yes, that is true. That is
I think wonderful. Thank you very much, Dr. Renu. It was a lovely birthday gift from your side that you praised, but I think, you know, your knowledge also has gained. एक रेनो एक छोटी सी बात बताना चाहती है. Most of the people have gone. जो आपकी क्लिनिकल प्रैक्टिस में पिछले 30 साल से आपने मैनेज नहीं किया, किताबों की बात मत लिखा करो.
जी मैम, लेकिन मैम वो डर्मेटोसिस बोला था इसलिए मैंने इंक्लूड किया, इसीलिए मैंने पहले शुरू में सब
आपको मैं बताना चाह रही हूँ, आपकी क्लिनिकल प्रैक्टिस जो है वो ही आंसर है. अगर वो पेशेंट ठीक हो गया तो बस वही आंसर.
जी मैम.
Am I clear? किताब से बिल्कुल जाना. It was wonderful, absolutely wonderful. Great.
Thank you मैम.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you,
Renu.
Dr. Kalpana. I'm hearing it for you for the second time. I heard you previously, that's why I asked Dipti. There is a lady in Ghaziabad, and you know, I'm glad that she could trace you.
कभी कभी तुम्हारे माँ भी इतना डराती हो कि किताबों में लिखा होना चाहिए एविडेंस बेस्ड एवरीथिंग, और कभी इतना डराते हो और कभी कहते हो.
बिल्कुल. आप एक पता किताबों में कुछ भी लिखा हो, अच्छी ट्रेनिंग का बहुत फर्क पड़ता है.
That is true.
My boss, Professor P.K. Devi, used to tell, never use steroids. अगर आपको steroids use करनी है, dermatologist के पास भेजो. You are missing something. See her upper story. Is everything is okay here? See the steroids, and I have followed it, and I have never failed in my life. Same things, you know. You have to see what is practical. I was told in infertility, never use gonadotropins till the time you have paraphernalia ready. When I see MBBS doctor writing gonadotropins for ovulation induction, मेरा तो heart ही बंद हो जाता है. I'm telling you. MBBS doctor writing gonadotropins. I started writing gonadotropins when I became IVF expert.
ऐसा नहीं है अब.
And मैं आपको अब मैडम कल्पना हंसेंगी. I have got a set of female physicians who ring me up in emergency. Dr. Jain, ये vulvovaginitis की क्या ट्रीटमेंट? देखो पेशेंट मेरे सामने बैठे. एक बार नहीं हुआ, बहुत बार ऐसा होता है. That's why I told Dr. Deepti, the physicians treat vulvovaginitis and the dermatologists treat vulvovaginitis much more. उनका एरिया में वो ये कहते हैं कि टीनिया के लिए भी भेजो, पर vulvovaginitis के लिए नहीं कहते कि आप मैडम के पास जाओ.
अब डॉक्टर कल्पना भेजेंगी हमारे पास.
कल्पना से वो कर लेते ना कोऑर्डिनेशन, कुछ वो भेजेंगे कुछ हम भेजेंगे.
Vulvovaginitis for a gynecologist for a this thing, चाहे लेडी हो गए ना, vulvovaginitis के लिए इनका bread and butter है डॉक्टर साहब. They have to learn the treatment.
वेजिनाइटिस अलग करके
ठीक है डॉक्टर साहब.
ठीक है.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, डॉक्टर कल्पना.
कल्पना एक बात पूछती
कल्पना, आपने ये नहीं मुझे बताया वो वाला जो आपके warts during pregnancy का आपकी क्या अप्रोच रहती है?
Ma'am, what during pregnancy? अगर मैम बहुत ज़्यादा नहीं है and patient is approaching her like delivery time, then I always tell them like you said कि it is under the influence of hormone that has become florid. जब आपकी डिलीवरी हो जाए आप उसके बाद आके रिमूव करा लें. And I always
आपको टिप दे रही हूँ. ऐसे पेशेंट को आपने soon after delivery give them a Gardasil vaccination in case if she's not taken it. Tell them about things कि you take care. एंड आप 2 महीने के बाद उसको बोलो फिर ये गार्डसिल का टीका लगा लो और उसके बाद ट्रीटमेंट शुरू करो. इट इज सो ग्रेट फॉर यू.
अब आधा गार्डसिल आप उसको दे दो कल्पना को.
मुझे पता तो होना चाहिए डॉक्टर. मेरे को अगर कोई चीज पता है इट वर्क्स वंडर्स, देन व्हाई शुड आई नॉट टेल इट? क्या तो रखेगी डॉक्टर?
No, just a joke only. You said आधे इनको देते.
नहीं, इसके पास आते हैं ना डॉक्टर, गायनेकोलॉजिस्ट तो डर जाते तो इनके पास भेज देते. तो मैं ये पूछना चाह रही थी इनकी क्या अप्रोच?
Wretched. Yes.
हमारे गायनेकोलॉजिस्ट कर जाते हैं.
मैंने तब कहा था जब पेशेंट इज हैविंग एक्यूट पेन इन द vulval area, एक्यूट अटैक में जाने वाला है.
प्रेगनेंसी में वजाइना में देखोगे भरे पड़े रहते हैं. आपको सिजेरियन ही करना है.
नहीं, herpes simplex वाले में बोला था ना सिजेरियन के लिए.
ठीक है. So we take a break now and we meet next Friday again. Thank you, Dr. Kalpana. Thank you, Dr. Renu. Thank you, Dr. Surjit. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
कल्पना एक बात बता दो और कल्पना.
हाँ जी मैम.
ये बताओ क्या कहते हैं, इट्रोकोनाजोल से पहले हमें LFT की जरूरत होती है कि नहीं?
मैम हर पेशेंट में नहीं होती, लाइक यू डोंट हैव टू गेट इट डन इन ऑल द पेशेंट्स, बट समटाइम लाइक आई सेड कि 6 to 8 वीक्स हम लोग इट्रोकोनाजोल डालते हैं. अगर पेशेंट ने आपको ये हिस्ट्री दी है कि डॉक्टर आई हैव टेकन मेथिडीन, तो मैं खा चुकी हूँ, इन दैट केस आई ऑलवेज गेट इट डन. लेकिन तब हर पेशेंट में कराते नहीं, लेकिन पूछ जरूर लेते हैं कि कोई आपने कोई टेस्ट कराया हो, उसमें लिवर प्रोफाइल गड़बड़ तो नहीं है, या अगर पेशेंट को देख के लगे कि पेशेंट हैज अ प्रोफाइल वे पेशेंट इज लाइक लिटिल ओबीज,
But we are not liable to do it, na? We are not liable to do
Dr.
it.
Surjit, Dr. Surjit,
you're not liable to.
1 minute.
Yes, yes, yes.
जो भी पेशेंट तेरे पास आए उसका तूने SGOT, SGPT और सीरम क्रिएटिनिन जरूर कराना है बिफोर यू राइटिंग मेडिकेशन. जरूर कराना चाहिए. It doesn't cost them much, 200 rupees, but I think you save all your things with them. And itraconazole is a very favorite drug with me.